Wassail. So I'm having a bit of a nightmare with technology. I've had no Wi-Fi, I've cracked my phone again, I've cracked my iPad again, my computer's dead. I just did Spiritual Wheel of the Year, hour and a half. Didn't record, well it did record, it recorded the wrong way around. I had to put it into iMovie to twist it round. iMovie then couldn't download it because there wasn't enough storage. I had to delete videos by the time I came back to it. Anyway, it got lost, and I decided the best thing to do is to not get frustrated. I think it's because I cracked out the cards again, and they keep saying to me, leave the cards alone. So they also, just before I went downstairs to get the cards, I fell over. I mean, I don't fall over. 2 little steps and somehow I did a proper pratfall. So anyway, I thought I'd come out here as the sun is sinking and see if we can't give this another go. Not so much a Spiritual Wheel of the Year as just talking about the frequencies to expect this year, things that are going on, energies that are coming up, and things that will be relevant. So what's big this year is Gaia, Uranus. Okay, so if you don't know why I do that, it's because Gaia birthed Uranus, and then she got together and they created all the other pantheon of gods. So to me, that planet, which is our consciousness and the note B, is both masculine and feminine. It's got a fluidity. It's also a planet that's to do with iconoclastic, kind of kicking doors down, changing the frequencies on things. And it's about bringing motion to seek balance in some way. And there's this real sense that this year 2021 hasn't quite set off yet. We're still stuck in 2020 energy, and in a way we will be for a couple of months, but what's really going on is the last full moon, and this means that we're still in the energy of that moon until the new moon on the 13th, is part of Earth frequency. Although the full moon was after the great mutation of Saturn and Jupiter into Aquarius in air, we're now, its birth was that it was the new moon of the solar eclipse of the luminous warrior, and that was very much Earth energy's last gasp. And so that gasp is still there and it needs dealing with in some way, but it won't change its frequency until the 13th. So if you want to have a bit of a New Year's celebration and you feel like you missed out, maybe you think about the 13th. You will notice a complete change in the energy as the air kind of rushes in. So the air, I'm just going to jump forward. I could get in a muddle here, but I'm just going to go out of order. So what is air? Air is thoughts. Air is swords. Air is wounds. Air is coming in to kind of plow up all the old crap that was Earth frequencies, that's been heavy and dense and holding people down. And helping that along with that changing is Gaia, Uranus. 7-year period that's in Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign, and Taurus is very stubborn and very earthy, but Taurus is now losing its power. It's not losing power. What it's losing is it's losing the additional bonus power that it had from the last 200 years of Earth conjunctions between Saturn and Jupiter. So this means now that Gaia, Uranus, owns Taurus's ass. So this is about coming in and ploughing up, I kind of want to say ploughing up the entire earth grid. The earth grid's been changing for years. It's been weakening, it's been damaged, it's been needing to be repaired, and that hasn't been taking place previously. And that's what a lot of this Lightworker stuff that people need to do with the earth grid is all about. It's about fixing this energy. But now, think of ploughing. You take a plough and it's a series of metal blades, and they go in and they cut through and they aerate the soil. That's exactly what's going on right now. Sword energy, air energy is coming in to cut through all the old frequencies, to sort of plough in, bring air inside the soil, and this will allow all that old compact growth of the last season, earth season's harvest, to be churned over and looked at. And that is like having, you know, a great big wound seared open in everything, in life, in us, in all kinds of different aspects. So you need to think about the fact that most of the natural world is quite static. Trees grow in a set place, and wind is the great pollinator. Wind carries the seeds often of many plants, not all. Some fall and roll, some get taken by birds and moved, but there is also little sparrows just arrived. As I said, birds, it's like it's saying, yeah, we do that. There are the pollinators, you know, the wind carries the seeds of many things. It was so sweet, it just came right over there. I really hoped it might have just slowly come round and sat on the wall with us. Maybe I can't see the wall, I need to bring the camera down a bit. Problem is I can't see anything on the actual camera. Oh, my scarf's banging me on the back of the head now. So, wind as pollinators, new movements, new directions, breaking free from staticness, jailbreaking, breaking out of house arrest, I guess, really. So another thing that's going to come to the fore in the next few months is smell and olfactory senses. Smell particularly is about air coming in and heightening things, bringing in the healing quality of perfume. And I don't mean artificial sprays, I mean the perfumes of the natural world. Going out, rubbing leaves, smelling leaves, being in contact with things. There's a great need for, I want to say, scent essence as healing. And again, I don't really. They're not saying, you know, like aromatherapy. Aromatherapy is great, but they're reminding me of a plant that grows here in Portugal that's called Estevas, I think. And it's the smell of Portugal. It's a very oily plant that looks very combustible. And it grows everywhere, and the smell when the sun hits it is absolutely beautiful. But if you go very close to the plant, it's very heavy and cloying, and sometimes this can be the case with aroma oils. Look, I love aroma oils, and I do use them, but very, very sparingly. A classic example of how you can get a sense of distortion sometimes is lavender oil has always been seen as a great cure-all that can be used for anything, very gentle oil, but some research has found out that actually it can, in prepubescent boys, it can begin to develop mammary tissue and give them slight breasts. So we have to have a greater respect for all things of the natural world, but particularly things that stimulate us in the olfactory sense. Then I had a lot to do with arms and feet. Arms, hands, creating things with your hands. And that links into something that's coming up that I'll talk about in a minute, that's to do with pottery, but we'll come back to that. So feet was to do with connection to bones. There is this research recently that talks about how we used to think our bones were just literally the structure, the framework on which everything else hung. But it turns out to be much more complicated and more amazing. Inside the bones are some kind of, I'm not sure what they are, I'm just going to call them little creatures. They're not creatures, but they're aspects of how the bone works. And these things come out through the bones and they go along and they eat the calcium that needs to go away. And then another little thing comes out and refills the bone with new calcium. And this is about regenerating, and they believe that bone health is key to longevity. It's this aspect of trying to tell us that we are capable of regeneration, and that in actual fact our bodies, all the molecules in our bodies, all the atoms regenerate constantly, and that we're never really more than a few years old. So there's an aspect of our body that is always childlike, and yet through the stories we tell ourselves with our consciousness, we continually keep aging, and we don't need to. There's a whole sense of, there's a frequency of body healings, a regenerative healing coming on, but it's gonna come a kind of with a kind of heaviness, with some disturbances. This air energy coming in is here to kind of cut through things, shift the frequencies, open wounds, make chasms into what was our truth, and into a sense of irony. What we have to do is we kind of have to, you have to kind of imagine your life as a book or a film, a bit like the Truman Show, but I want you to think of it as a book. And we're now at this point where, because we're changing from the earth epoch into the air epoch, you're about to close off one volume of your autobiography, and move into the next volume. And what you need to do is almost write the blurb that would appear on the back of your book, that would tell anyone picking up your book, in essence, what your life to this point has been about, but also why they should go on, why anyone should go on to read the second volume. Why should anyone be interested in seeing what you're going to do next? Because the key part of this is this period now, while we've been in this kind of weird lockdown phase, is a chance to create a cliffhanger, something wonderfully dramatic that should be a kind of a moment, so that people just need to tune in to the next episode of your life. So let me go back. I've done that page. So, last chapter of the first volume of your life. Oh, there's Mars is going to feature a lot in this connection between the two. Mars is the cliffhanger energy in a way. Mars doesn't go retrograde this year, but it does move into Taurus, which will fuel and fire up the frequency of Gaia, Uranus, in that sign. I might have to give up on this soon because the sun's now fading on me. Yes, it's moving in to fuel up and fire up that energy. I think it might have just gone behind a cloud. It might come back out again in a moment. but it's giving me a massive green circle in front of my eyes, like happened on the conjunction with Jupiter. So Mars is moving on the 7th of January into Taurus, and on the 19th of January it will form a conjunction with Gaia, Uranus, and it just will be adding that extra kind of shouty, kicky, throwy tantrum sort of energy to just bust through all kinds of things. So just be very aware of that and allow that to pass through you. Now, the next biggie thing that's going on is Venus. We really need to be very aware of what Venus is up to this year. Obviously, when Saturn and Jupiter moved into Aquarius in December on the 21st, well, 17th and the 19th, but made the conjunction on the 21st, they left Pluto behind all on its own in Capricorn when they went off to party in Aquarius. And Pluto's not the it's not the happiest of bunnies at the best of time. And so left alone now in Capricorn with that energy of the vortex of stress, the planet of death and rebirth is getting ready to be joined by Venus. And that's on the 9th of January. And actually, it's not going to be a comfortable ride. Pluto is bringing this frequency of death and rebirth to romance and love. And look, we're already feeling that distance, but this is about adding a level of stress to partnerships that already exist. I'm not saying that they're going to break up. What I'm saying is you're going to be tested, because Pluto wants to break you up. Pluto wants to bring about an end to all relationships and all romances, because its two mates, Saturn and Jupiter, just did a shifty and left it all alone. So there's anger in Pluto at the moment. And Venus, obviously, she wants to bring a higher ideals to Pluto, but that's not easy, because you've got to remember Pluto's like the grumpy old bastard that just doesn't ever like anything. So we've got that to contend with. It's going to be furious. Pluto's spinning like a furious web of love transfiguration, really awkward energy. And by the time it gets to about, I think, the 27th of April, Pluto will go retrograde, and Venus by that point will then be in Taurus with the Sun and with Gaia, Uranus. So there's a lot of really big emotional love troubling themes that will be rising throughout this period, but it's to bring us to these higher frequency connections of mirrored soul. Now, it could be that your current partner is able to elevate and weather this storm with you, but it could also be that you need to open your eyes and just realize that now is a time to accept that your previous partnerships were earth-based, rutting, kind of deeply physically, sexually based, and that actually we're now moving to much greater kind of cerebral, creative love affairs and romances. So next we're moving on to the energy of that's kind of well, it's February energy. It is in February. There's I've been digging around at various things, but the very beautiful Reem, hello beautiful Reem from Miss Reemy Healings, drew my attention to a stellium that I hadn't got to. Now, a stellium is when 4 or more planets are in the same sign or house. I have a stellium in my 10th house, and it's a little bit heavy on Virgo, which is never something one likes. Sorry, Virgo. But what I mean is, it was in an amplified energy, amplifying Earth frequencies of Virgo, and that'll calm down now. Anyway, stelliums. So, this stellium that's coming in February. I'm really sorry. Did I insult Virgo before? I don't mean to, because I have a lot of Virgo planets. But so I think I did. No, I shook my fists at all of the Earth signs. But anyway, I have 4 planets in Virgo, I think, or 3. One's on the cusp, 0 degrees. Enough about me. This is about the frequencies. So the 6 planets that will be lining up in Aquarius for the age of Aquarius are the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn. Also in the mix, if you want to add a 7th, is Pallas Athena, which is an asteroid like Ceres. And I include Ceres in sound healing, but I don't include Pallas Athena. I'm going to look into all of these things, because I feel like even the aspects of where the planets and notes fit the body and move, the music of the spheres is shifting, so I'm going to have to look into the aspects of what works with what now, sound healing wise. But they're making this stellium. Now, what does this stellium mean for you? There's a real sense of birds singing songs, bubbling brooks, fizzing frequencies, sparkling energies, and this is the beginning of the theme of the year, the overarching theme, which really is about the new codes for light workers. Look, light workers, I'm as guilty of this as any of you, but we've all thought we were light workers when we weren't. We liked the word, we knew the word, it made us feel special, and we will be special. But what we've been doing wasn't what we will be doing in the age of Aquarius. We're looking now for our light worker frequencies, and it's very difficult. It's not easy work. It involves going into the darkness, into the void, seeking what best truths can serve you, that you can make form from within the chaos of darkness, from within the void where there's the formless consciousness, and drawing those things out to create something new. Now, how do we do this? Well, it's got a lot to do with the variational differences between white noise, which is all high frequencies, and pink noise, which is to do with much greater amplification of lower frequencies, like you get with C, which is a very healing frequency. It's muscle and tissue regenerative energy. The actual sound, they know, the infrasound of the C. And so we're looking at connecting to this pink noise. So take yourself outside, go and meditate, but go somewhere that has natural world noise, like the sea, like a river, a waterfall, wind through trees. The importance is you need to attach yourself to the noise. The inside, behind the noise, on the edge of the noise in your darkness, is the edge of chaos. Just behind that frequency is chaos, and you're seeking to calm the chaos to find your frequencies. Now, if you imagine all that earringing we've been having for generations was to do with kind of energies coming down, and then there were the energies that were coming up from the earth grid before, and they weren't fully formed, but they were changing to match the frequencies of the new music of the spheres. Now, what you're seeking to do is to understand that the energies from above have come down, and they go in and they adjust the frequencies of the earth's heart, the soul of the earth. That melody then comes back out. Now, within that infinite, beautiful frequency of the beat of the earth's heart is each individual light worker's code. It's not up there, it's not in Sirius or Orion or wherever your star origin is. Your code is in the earth, because your code is part consciousness, part molecular, atomic, your physical body. And it's about connecting and correcting and healing the both of them by listening to create stillness in the natural world. And that will begin to unlock your true light worker gifts. So look, they've shown me this, but the important thing is, I don't think I didn't put my key in. Imagine the earth has got a whole series of keyholes. You have to connect your feet. That's why feet came up. You can sit down, you can sit on your bum, do it. But the idea is you're connecting your molecules into the earth and letting them be one with the earth and one with everything. And then your consciousness being one with your body and then one with everything. And you're looking for a code to unlock this, but you have to allow your consciousness to think way outside of its box. So one morning when trying to do that very thing here, a rainbow broke out just across the sea there, and they showed me the missing paradise ray, and it appeared on the inside of the violet part of the rainbow's frequency, and that, I don't know where I thought it would be. I thought it would be somewhere midway through. But anyway, it appeared. They showed me it on the edge, and it came through as a slightly sort of, I want to say bile yellow, and I don't know why. I've never wanted to say the word bile before, but there's something about the four humours as well. But it went violet, then a tiny edge of yellow, bile yellow, and then the paradise ray in aquamarine. And then it went. But the point that they were trying to make was, we have to think outside of the box. We have to be able to imagine things that were not imaginable before. We have to believe in the magic that is everywhere that will bring around these wonderful changes for us. So, emotions, because water comes after air, and air is here to cut open the earth and free the blocked, damaged emotions. So, we need to unlock our gifts. So you need to imagine, I guess the best way to look at this is, imagine your light worker is some kind of spiritual superhero, and they're part of volume 2 that you're writing. So what might you look like? Don't go on the internet and look. You don't look like anything anyone else has described. You are unique. You will be unique. You might have animal aspects to you. You might have planetary aspects to you. You might be watery. You might be, this is the point. You have to find your frequency and what that makes you feel, and what that energy moving through you as a true light worker will be. Okay, so that's part of this stellium energy, this opening. So now, hang on, here we go then. So this is going to be hard work, and you really do have to focus on the chaos that's inside the darkness. They just want me to reference this thing of, just behind the reality that you perceive is chaos and darkness. There is world, but in terms of where our consciousness goes within the world, the edge of our vision and everything hides and harbours things just behind. And this is not going to be something that happens quickly. This is all year work. I'm not going to get there. I might never get there, but it is an ongoing thing to find our true light worker frequency. Okay, so this is not about love and light. It is ultimately, but that has to stop. That's old light worker pretense. It's not gonna work. It's if you keep just saying love and light and they're not doing any form of shadow work or looking into the darkness, accepting the chaos, working with it, molding it, pottery. That's what the pottery is to do with. So you're taking the darkness from within the void, the conscious parts that you think you can bring form to because they're part of your Lightworker spiritual healing gift, and you're molding them into a new you, and that will mold your molecules, change your molecules. There's all those little things come out of your bones to do with the longevity of you. They're going to come out and they're going to transfer your blueprint, your DNA. So you need to reach inside the void to your shadows. Now your shadows are aspects of the darkness and the chaos that you've had distorting your consciousness frequency. They're different to the darkness. The darkness is pure, beautiful, sublime chaos that is just, I want to say, it's like a living excitement that has you slightly on edge because you never know where it's going to take you, but it's beautiful. So you are a potter sculpting a new vessel for your light body to exist in. That's the point they're making. You need to almost witness your light body form as something free of your vessel, and then work out what your light body means when it interweaves with your vessel and becomes this other part of you. So now let's move on to the next part. We're looking at the continuing energy of Venus, and I'll try and do this quite quickly. This is to do with the solar eclipses that are coming up this year. So although we've got the vernal equinox coming up, and although 90% of the population live in the northern hemisphere, actually there's a very important thing going on in the southern hemisphere at the moment, and it's to do with, hang on, let me find it. So it's to do with the correction of energy frequencies down below. There's something to do with the Aurora Australis is going to kind of take on some extra energies this season. I'm sorry it's getting really dark now. And there's going to be increased activity. There's going to be a sense that polar magnetism has shifted and moved slightly, and they keep saying to me Perth. It doesn't mean that the magnetic South Pole's there, but there's some kind of magnetic frequency pull that's around the Perth area. It's wandering. But the eclipse on the 10th of June is going to be over the North Pole, and it's the only one over the North Pole in the 21st century. And this has something to do with powering down to try and bring this stabilizing energy down to, through the Schumann resonance, to the southern, the South Pole. The South Pole's lacking its weird, very high clouds, and I've forgotten what their name are, but they haven't turned up yet this year. However, the solar eclipse at the end of the year on the 4th of December, that's over the South Pole, and that one will be going from east to west rather than west to east as all other eclipses do, and that can only happen quite rarely on the South Pole. There's something, look, I'm not saying that the poles will shift. The poles do shift, you know, often every 11 years on the sun. They can do that. And the poles here on Earth haven't shifted, but the magnetic north has been going on a little bit of a wander quite far towards Siberia, I believe. And there is this sense of this energy of Perth. The problem I have is the energy that comes from my guides at the moment, it's not that it's not true, but the guides are very much a feature of Earth energy, and at the moment their frequencies being adapted as well. They're going to change their their light body form somehow as we move into this air energy. So at the moment, there's almost a sense that they're not somehow functioning in the way that they should. And so it's safer to try and get information directly from your higher self. But this information has been dropped in my head with no sense of what the source was. So I don't want to say the poles are going to shift, because it could be a distortion of something they're trying to show me to do with the grid, the earth grid, as I talked about earlier, changing from earth to air. But the way the visual or it unfolded made it seem that it was a pole shift taking place. Now, I just want to talk about animals, animal signs. Animals are going to start trying to show us things. So, for instance, Rome, New Year's Eve, after all the lockdown, they all let off fireworks, and all around the station, all the starlings that had moved in through the choir had heart attacks, and the streets were littered with dead starlings. We've got to look at how we work with the creatures around us. It's not fair that we think we're above them. We've got to connect more with the natural world. And we've got to support, in the Northern Hemisphere, we've got to support spring. The aspect that I did get very strongly, though, is how, again, although we're looking at spring, and that is very important, there's something very, very important going on with the autumnal frequencies of the Southern Hemisphere this year. And they're almost talking about, there was a sense of the regenerative energy, like the autumnal energy is the nourishment, the nutrients that will help us to move forwards. The other thing to say is that there will be a little breather around the 6th to the 9th of March, is a time when there's a brief moment of sort of no aspects. And I get this, the sense was this is when we, after this stellium, when we break out, get out of jail, this is our point at which we as a humankind, as a group, start to have that Gaia, Uranus, that Uranian rebellion that won't be stopped. There's something about that peaceful moment before there's a kind of, on the 30th and the 31st, the 25th to the 29th, the Sun and Venus are moving in conjunction for quite a long time, and then they make a sextile, both the Sun and Venus, with Saturn in Aquarius on the 30th and the 31st, and that's going to be very observable energies of a kind of love magic, a love karma that's going to change things. So that's really quite beautiful. The other thing to say is, all the way through this first 3 months, but throughout the whole year, details are really, really important. Looking deep and not allowing unwanted messages to keep distracting you. We have to stay focused, and air energy will help us to stay focused. And especially when it's Aquarian energy, it really will help with that focus. So anyway, the sun's really fading now. I'm going to stop there just because I really just want to get you a video out today, but it had to be clearly with no cards and after a pratfall downstairs. So anyway, wassail beautiful people, and have a lovely evening.